Hey, this is Jon Toogood from Shehad and the Adults, and you're listening to Beach FM.
You're on Beach FM with Damian Collins. He is the lead singer of one of New Zealand's most favourite rock bands of all time. This Wellington band started back in 1988, and their music has crossed generations for over the last 30 years. 9 albums later as a band and a Silver Legacy Award, as well as an induction to the New Zealand Music Hall of Fame. The once grungy, long-haired, skinny kid in the front, he has developed into one of the country's most respected musicians, collaborating with some of the biggest names in New Zealand music. He is now touring the country with his acoustic solo tour, entertaining crowds with yarns and tunes, with 2 shows this weekend in Raumati. Ladies and gentlemen, New Zealand rock royalty, the lead singer of Shehad, the one and only Jon Toogood. Welcome, Jon.
Hey, bro. How you going? That was a pretty big intro, man. Whoa.
Well, you know, nothing but the best for the best.
Oh, cheers, brother.
Appreciate it. Well, my first question, mate, is as you know, we're local. You've got some strong ties to Kapiti Coast, being a Wellingtonian boy, especially with Carl Kippenberger and all the way from Pukerua Bay in the band.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what are some of your good memories around the Kapiti Coast coming up through the years?
Well, yeah, I mean, we just used to spend a lot of time sort of cruising around there, little bogans, driving around. It was always a cool place to go and check out and get up to naughty stuff. So maybe we shouldn't go on here. Okay, let's move on to the next question.
Outstanding. Well, mate, you know, you talk about that stuff. We have watched you grow up, and I'm sure you've done the same watching us from the front. Apart from the hair length and volume of the hairstyles, what kind of changes have you noticed from your audience over the years?
Well, I'd say most of them wouldn't be able to deal with crowd surfing anymore, and most of them have to get babysitters when they come and watch me play. Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, as well as the 9 Shehad albums that you guys have released, you've also had a couple collaborations and called it The Adults, working with some of the biggest names in our music in New Zealand. How was that experience for you, and you know, how was it working with some of your idols?
I mean, both albums are quite different. First album's more like looking back at people that inspired me. I like, you know, Shane Carter and Warren Maxwell and, you know, Tiki Tane and Ricky Gooch from Trinity Roots and, yeah, just people that I really respected and stuff. This newer record was more, I mean, I got married to a Sudanese national and got married in Khartoum and met all these traditional female drum and vocal groups and who played at our wedding. And I went, and that was the start of the next one. So because it was such a different angle, I looked at people who are more up and coming, like Chelsea Jade or Astaire or even, you know, Jess B. And I wanted to keep it a bit more sort of female orientated because all the Sudanese musicians were female. So, yeah, so they're two quite different projects. I mean, really, The Adults for me is just a way to express all those other ideas that I have that don't quite fit into the Shehad thing. You know, I've liked music since I was 2 years old, bro. Like that, I used to listen to my parents' Beatles Hard Day's Night over and over again and thought it was like alchemy, man. And I spent my whole life sort of trying to work out how you do that magic trick.
Yeah.
And then it just so happened that when I started playing in Shehad, I was 15, 16, when I met Tom at school, our drummer, Shehad's drummer, and he gave me AC/DC's Highway to Hell, Metallica's Ride the Lightning, and it was just that sort of time in my life where it was like, oh, perfect, I love metal, and you know, a band like Metallica gave, because they sort of looked like we did. They didn't look like rock stars like Kiss or anything. They looked accessible, and they looked like, well, if they could do it, we could do it. So that's just where we sort of started as a band, and I mean, I still love Nice Trumpets, and I still love Slayer's Rain and Blood. Don't get me wrong, but my first album I ever bought was my first 3 albums were Kiss Alive 1, followed by Bob Marley Legend, followed by Human League Deer. So I've always been into, like most kids, man, like into lots of different music, you know. And then I was lucky enough to have an older brother and sister that had relatively good music taste as well. So through them, there was like Queen and Led Zeppelin, and my sister was a bit of a punk, so I had Stiff Little Fingers and Pill and Sex Pistols, and so yeah, I just liked music. I mean, that's it.
Amazing.
I still love music, man. That's my thing. That's the bit that makes me feel good about being a human being, and that's why I suppose I do these solo shows. It's a nice way for me to put all those different things together in one blast, and sort of take people on a journey through that sort of idea, you know.
Outstanding. So it must have been, growing up, you had all these idols. It must have been a trip when you're opening for AC/DC then. Oh,
absolutely, man. I mean, that's I should imagine it would be similar to a Catholic meeting the Pope. I mean, that's like the blueprint of rock and roll to me. That's the best guitar sound that was ever known to man, and I got to stand on stage right next to Malcolm Young's amp, and have the guitar tech show me what the setup was, and had to listen to it coming straight in front of those speakers. And then years later, when we're recording, the General Electric album, She-Heart's General Electric album, and
amazing album.
They were recording, I think, what became Stiff Upper Lip. I don't know what number album that was for them, but I got to I remember running up the stairs after listening to a mix of My Mind's Today, our song, in Randy Staub's car, the guy who mixed it, and bumping straight into Malcolm Young, and he was like, "Oh, what does that sound like?" And I'm like, "Sounds awesome." He was like, "Awesome!" And so it's like just moments like those things are really priceless to me. It seems sort of surreal, but I mean, even like supporting Black Sabbath, man. I mean, like one of my first albums I ever bought was Black Sabbath Live Evil, and then years later, I'm playing support to those guys all around Australia and New Zealand, and watching like Tony Iommi, the guitar player, and Geezer Butler, the bass player, who also wrote all the lyrics to things like War Pigs off the Paranoid record. They're standing on stage every day, and watching us play, and it was like, yeah, it's pretty cool.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Well, going off that, mate, I mean, my next question was, and it's quite relevant actually, if you were to talk to John 30 years ago and then say to him one day, you're going to be known for one of the best public service announcements in New Zealand history, as in put your clocks back for the winter. You'll be a New Zealand Music Hall of Famer, and now you're even going to co-host the 54th New Zealand Music Awards with Laura Daniel. Would young John have believed him?
Oh, I had no idea what I was getting myself into. I mean, really, all I knew was I loved music from a very young age. I also loved sport as well, and before
First 11 captain?
I joined She-Heart, I was like, I was captain of the Wellington schoolboys team, and sort of thinking that was going to be my career, and then I meet Tom, and he sort of reignites my passion for music, which never really went away, but he showed me how to play an electric guitar, basically, and then that was it. I was gone. I was just like, okay, I'm going to write my own songs. We did play covers when we were young as well. We played, but all bands have to learn how to, get their chops down by playing other people's songs. And yeah, the first few songs, for the first long time, like any artist, my songs pretty derivative of the stuff I was listening to, and then you start branching out and start putting things together, and make mistakes and write a lot of really rubbish songs, and then every now and then you write one that sort of works, and it's like, a song like Home Again, that's just one of a lot of songs that I've written, and it was just the right time, right place sort of vibe, it didn't take too long to come up with, which is weird. But I didn't know it was going to become like an anthem or a thing that people use to remember which way the clocks go in daylight savings. But that was just seemed like the right opening line for that song. And it's like, in fact, I saw the lyric sheet the other day, the original one where I was writing it, and it said the first line I'd written was, "It's been a long, cold, lonely winter," and then it was scribbled out. And then it was like, "Put your clocks back for the winter." So it was like, that was the second draft.
Amazing.
But it would have happened pretty quickly. It's like, I'm so glad I made that decision. But, sometimes I make the right decision, sometimes you don't. But that's art, you know. It's just music's another form of art, and it's an expression. And sometimes you nail what you're thinking, and other times you're close, but not quite close, you know.
Awesome. Hey, you were talking about covers there. Have you heard one of a great cover of one of your songs being sent to you, or you've heard it through someone else?
I think the most affecting cover was when we were taken into a school classroom, and this primary school, and it was on TV. I can't remember what school it was, but these kids had done this amazing vocal arrangement. It's like really young primary school kids had done a vocal arrangement of Pacifier, and it was like, I remember just going, oh my God, that's so beautiful, you know, like, but it was weird. It was like, I mean, obviously the teacher must have liked us, but yeah, that was pretty good. What else? Oh, I saw like a Palmerston North School choir do Waiting Around for God, which was sort of really amazing too. I like any time I see a cover where it's like totally out of in a different context. That's like, it's always really interesting to me.
Awesome.
How people do that, you know. So
awesome. Well, differences. You're all about. You're now touring the country. You have been this year. You got your solo acoustic show. Just you, a guitar, some lyrics, and some yarns out here. How did this come about?
It was about 4 years ago. A friend of mine got me to play at an opening of a bar in Melbourne, and I sort of wasn't busy, and I said, yeah, I'll do it, and then had to quickly learn some songs that I liked, and I've never done anything like that before, and I just remember it being such a thrill having to make a show out of just this guitar in my hand and my voice and stories, and it was nerve-wracking, but it was also really exhilarating, you know. Like with She Hard, I know how to do that, and I know the band behind me is super tight, and they're always going to sound great, and you've got this big wall of noise, and if I hit a bum note, no one really hears it because there's so much distortion going on, and so, you know, I mean, don't get me wrong, I still try and sing really well in She but it was a different vibe, you know. I'm almost like a PT instructor, you know. It's just like song, and there's no stopping to talk to people. There's no real time to be a human being. I'm always like a rock and roll machine, you know. Yep. So this is good because it's like I get to just stop and explain why I'm playing a song, talk about what the song means to me, actually acknowledge the people sitting in the room rather than just go, jump, motherfuckers. I just get to, just say hi, you know, and listen to other people, and it's more of a conversation between me and the audience, and I really like that. You know, like it's a new skill for me because I've never really had to do that.
Yeah,
I've just been it's been like an MC in a lot of ways, playing these songs with She Hard, and this for me is a real good chance to just connect as a human being.
Amazing.
And still, don't get me wrong, I still want people to go, wow, that was cool, you know. Like, I mean, when I might just tell a silly joke, but then when it comes to playing the song, I'll still sing it with everything I got, you know. Like,
absolutely.
So they're pretty special, these shows. I really, and the more I do them, the more I find ways of making more of a show out of it, and it's really, really, it's still a real thrill to me, you know.
So with these shows every night, you're expanding, you're evolving every night. You played Christchurch last night. You got another gig there tonight. Will there be similarities, a bit different? You keep on adding?
Oh, it's Napier.
Oh, Napier, sorry.
Napier. Yeah, all good. So it'll be a very similar song list.
Yeah.
They might be played slightly different order. I usually, like I say, it's like, I might have a few sort of intros or yarns about songs that are the same, but because I'm sort of like actually opening my eyes between songs and seeing who's in the room, it tends to go in different angles and different tangents based on what's happening and the group of people I'm playing to. So Yeah, which is very different from She Has. She Has just like a big Hollywood blockbuster Broadway show, which is great. Like, it's awesome, and it's a real thrill. It's supposed to be a roller coaster ride, so you need to have things planned out. You need to know what's coming up next. But this is a little bit more freeform, and fun.
So did it take you a little bit to get over the eyes looking back at you and seeing the faces instead of the blur of the crowd?
Yeah, it did a little bit, but I mean, I tend to like human beings, so
Awesome.
So I mean, pretty much, yeah. It didn't take much of a transition to happen, but it was definitely a new thing for me. It was definitely new when I was first going them. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. You're playing in Raumati tomorrow night and Sunday night at the Waterfront Bar and Kitchen in Raumati Beach. What are you looking forward to most being back in the region?
Oh man, that view's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Also, I get to go and say hello to Mum, who's living in
Nice.
Burnie, which we choice. I know that's a little bit further away than Raumati, but
so rock and roll.
Closer than Melbourne.
Yeah,
so,
definitely.
So I'll probably head down to Wellington and say hi to Mum, and maybe see some friends, because that's where I grew up.
Yeah, awesome.
But yeah, I just play. It's pretty much a hometown gig in a weird way, even though it's up the coast. But it's pretty much a hometown gig to me,
The greater Wellington region, of course. And what people turning up to the gigs this weekend? What are they going to expect from Jon Toogood with a guitar?
Oh, pretty much just what I've been talking about, man.
Awesome.
Just a bunch of songs that I love, and a bit of a sort of more intimate. It's pretty funny. Pretty funny.
Well,
lots
mate.
of swearing.
Well, the Saturday show is completely sold out, but for those lucky enough, they can jump online and still get tickets to the Sunday show at jontoogood.live.
Yeah, it'll be awesome, man.
Fantastic.
Awesome.
Well, mate, I really appreciate your time today, joining me on Beach FM for this chin wag between the two of us. I really am looking forward to the gigs this weekend, and if you need me to introduce you on stage after that introduction, by all means, sing out.
That was quite a long one.
I'll try and shorten it down for you. Outstanding, John. Thank you so much.
I'll see you soon.
Beach FM, locals talking to locals.